Hey, it's Liberty, and today I'm going to be wrapping up all of the books that I read in May and talking about all the books that I'm excited to read in June. And some cultural things that I love this month. If you like this, do give it a little thumbs up, and I make videos all about books, history, personality, etc. So do check those out and subscribe if you would like to. I'm going to get straight into it. The first book that I read in May was The Lost Apothecary. Now, this book has two strands to it. It's sort of part historical fiction, part contemporary. And in the past, in the 18th century in London, there is this mysterious apothecary who caters to women who basically... She sells disguised poisons for them to sort of get rid of any sort of like horrible, oppressive men in their lives. She is called Nella, and sort of whispers of her pervade around the city. One day, this 12-year-old appears in the shop, and it's sort of events spiral, and Nella finds herself in a completely different situation than she's ever been in before. The second strand is in the present day, and we follow Caroline, who has come to London for her 10th wedding anniversary, except she's come alone. She stumbles across this clue that leads her to the whole mystery of the unsolved apothecary murders. She's an amateur historian. She sort of wishes that she had focused on that more in her life, and so this is sort of a perfect opportunity for her to forget about her marriage and just focus on something that she's passionate about. I really enjoyed this book. Obviously, I love history and archaeology, so this is sort of right up my street, and I'm a massive historical fiction fan. So it's really nice to read about people's passions for history. And, you know, solving a historical mystery is kind of the dream. That was really fun to read about. But something that bugged me is the way that this book sort of implied that you could just take anything that you found on the River Thames or specifically on the foreshore, but just anywhere along the Thames, which is absolutely not the case. First of all, you need a permit to even sort of look for things to find on the Thames, and it's sort of, as part of that, you have to report anything that you find. So it kind of bugs me that this book might set off a bunch of people just going and taking things from the River Thames, or anywhere actually, not just in the UK, but you know, anywhere around the world. As an archaeologist, that pains me massively. But otherwise, the whole dual strand really weaved together really nicely. It was written really well, and I feared that I wouldn't be as invested in Caroline as I was in the historical fiction portion, but actually very great characterization done there. I was really satisfied with the way that Caroline's story wrapped up as well, so that was a bonus. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book, and I would recommend it if you love historical fiction or just history in general. The second book that I read in May was Kim Ji-young, born 1982. This is a fiction novel which is sort of based on many lives of South Korean women born in the 80s, and Kim Ji-young is the sort of most common name that was given to girls during the 80s, and this is sort of representative of, you know, that generation's experience as a woman. All the struggles and the discrimination that they faced throughout various different aspects of their lives. I had heard a lot about this book. I'd heard a lot about people being praised and demonized depending on what sex or gender they were for reading this, and so it made me really curious. This is sort of split up into different phases of her life. You sort of get a snapshot of where her present is, and then you sort of go back and it takes you through her childhood and, you know, her as a daughter, as a sister, and as she goes through school, university, and, you know, the workplace, and, you know, married life and being a mother, and how all of this affects her, and at a certain point it all becomes too much. There's also statistics and things like that put in there. Sadly, you know, so it wouldn't be dismissed as one woman's account, and you also get the women around Ji-young and, you know, her mother, her friends, and all of that kind of thing too. So it's, you know, really sadly there were some things that were universally relatable. I know definitely, like, my mum's generation, the stuff that she's gone through, you know, some of that resonated when I read it, and there were some really specific things about South Korea that were, you know, quite shocking. Honestly, this book did teach me quite a lot, and, you know, made me various shades of upset and angry and sad while reading it. But it is honestly a must-read for anyone and everyone. It sort of really shows us how far we've come and how far we've still got to go in terms of, you know, the way women are treated in modern day societies all around the world. I actually only read 2 books in May, to my shame, but I'm currently reading like 3 books, so June is going to be better than this. Okay. On to some TV and film things. There are a couple of things I love this month. First is Doctor Strange. Oh my god, this is what a Marvel film should be like. Similarly to Thor Ragnarok, you've got a director whose strength is really in one particular genre and really thrives on that kind of storytelling and is bringing that into the MCU rather than, a sort of stereotypical superhero film. Sam Raimi directed this. Honestly, like one of his horror films, it was incredibly visually stunning and just full of tension and suspense and just absolutely riveting. Such a solid pair of hands. He also directed the original Spider-Man trilogy. Yeah, just Wanda is literally my favourite character in the MCU, so it was really, really amazing to get to see her really shine and have, a lot to sink her teeth into in this film. If you haven't seen this film, you really need to, but the only problem is with this is that I feel like if you hadn't seen WandaVision, if you hadn't seen, obviously the first Doctor Strange, if you hadn't seen Avengers Endgame, Age of Ultron, that kind of thing, I feel like you would have missed out on the emotional payoffs in this film, which, I guess this is just a Phase 4 MCU thing. I think every film release is going to suffer from that unless it's a origin story. But even then, I'm sure there'll be repeated characters in there that would make it confusing for someone who hadn't seen them, but I loved it, and I'm going to continue to watch the MCU films and TV series, and I'm currently watching Hawkeye, and actually Falcon and the Winter Soldier I also watched this month, and I thought it was good. I don't think it was good as WandaVision. I think WandaVision has been the standout series so far, but there's so much more coming. So also, like the rest of the world, I got obsessed with Heartstopper this month. The love story between Nick and Charlie, sort of set in this British high school, was really heartwarming, and just, oh my god, if I'd had this as a teenager to watch, like, oh my god. All the characters were really great. I was really excited when I heard that the Alice Oseman universe was coming to Netflix. I hadn't read Heartstopper, but I had read Radio Silence and Solitaire. Radio Silence is one of my favourite books, definitely one of my favourite YA books. And I really, really hope that's going to be an adaptation on its own. But obviously, as someone who's read Solitaire, I was really happy to see Tori in this series. And I hope, we at least get some more of her as the series goes on, because I know there's going to be at least a season 2. I presume there will also be a 3 and 4 too, because this was an incredibly well done series. So this is my music playlist for May. Very much listened to a lot of 80s because I went to the concert on the 30th of April. So yeah, I've been very much enjoying, reminiscing and just listening to the music again. Yeah. Also, Psy of Gangnam Style fame, he released a new song with Suga from BTS, and God, it is a bop. Like... Psy just makes bops, and I haven't been able to stop listening to it. It's very addictive, very catchy. I don't know what its longevity is going to be like, but for now. So on to my TBR for June. First is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. I'm currently reading this book. I love V.E. Schwab, so when I found out she was writing a fantasy standalone, I was like, yeah, absolutely. This is kind of a mix between Stranger Things and Pan's Labyrinth. Yeah, Olivia Pryor is the main character of this book. She has grown up in this girls' school where she's never fit in. She actually can't speak. The only thing she has left of her mother is this journal, which she can sort of see her slowly going mad while she's writing it. And she just never knew who her father is. And when she sort of gets a letter from her uncle inviting her home to Gallant, she goes. But when she does get there, no one's expecting her. No one really wants her there. She's trying to figure out what happened to her mother, who her father is. And, she's getting used to living in this house. And it's very much like Stranger Things in a way that there is another Gallant, like another house, like on the other side of the wall in this garden. And it's, as you would think. This isn't a spoiler. It's literally on the front cover of the book. Everyone keeps so many secrets from her that she sort of gets herself into trouble accidentally because she doesn't really know what not to do, because everyone's sort of like doesn't really know what to do with her. This book is very atmospheric so far. It's the plot has taken a while to get going. I didn't really know what the plot was going to be, what the conflicts were going to be until a bit way, like 60% of the way through. You really get to simmer in this world for a while before things start to happen, and I'm really excited because I'm getting to the climax bit of the novel. You have to just pull yourself out of a traditional 3-act structure, I guess, and just sort of let the writing speak for itself. And once you do that, it's an incredibly enjoyable read. Also, I'm co-reading and listening to this at the same time, and Julian Reintart is reading the audiobook, so that's just great. That's just a treat for the ears. Next on my TBR for June is One for All, which is like an Own Voices gender-bent retelling of The Three Musketeers, which I read and loved. So this was a sort of a no-brainer to pick up, really. Tanya is the main character of this novel, and she has a chronic illness. She gets dizzy a lot of the time, but she really, really wants to be sort of a strong, independent, like a fencer like her father. He is a former musketeer, and when he gets murdered, she sort of fulfills his last wish to go to this training school to sort of train to become a female musketeer, but a secret one where it's all behind skirts and there's weapons and seductions, and basically she's gonna serve France and do whatever she can to help. She then meets someone who sort of makes her question her loyalties and whether she wants to find out what really happened to her father. This sounds really good. Historical fiction, obviously, which is right up my street. Potentially lots of action, which I love. Training montages, which are just the best. And also, a little bit of romance too. So, great. I'm also reading Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, which I've talked about a couple of times, so I won't synopsize. But it's heating up where I am at the moment. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. So thank you for watching. That was my May wrap-up and June TBR. Not a lot, but, I started a new job and that happens. And you just have to, get used to the new way that things are going to be and settle in. And I feel like I'm slowly doing that, and I'm going to get more chances to read and sort everything out. So that's good. If you like this, do give it a thumbs up. I make videos all about books, history, personality, etc. So do check those out and subscribe if you would like to. Happy reading!